Welcome in Working with Foam Board Part 9. This time we will explain how we create natural stone walls. Once again we peel off the cardboard layer from the foam plate. For this time we use the thickest foam plate available. As you can see, it peels off very easily. We use a plate from about 15 mm thick. And on one side we leave the cardboard layer on its place. Here you see a wall that is already prepared. In this case it is a bridgehead with the typical characteristic stones on the side and on the top of it. But for this time we will not make a stone wall with rectangular stones, but with uneven stones. The technique and the color is in both cases the same. Here you see an example of a natural stone wall with stones with an irregular shape. This is a good example here. To create our wall, we don't use this time a steel pen. We use a file. You can actually use whatever you want, but the goal we try to reach is to create a rougher engraving. And basically we do it in a horizontal way, but we make some little variations, as you can see here. Also we engrave a bit deeper while we place the line in the foam. We start with a more or less horizontal line. During the engraving of those horizontal lines, we try to let the lines crossing each other. The engraving may look rougher, with little cracks and pits. The thickness of the stone layers may vary. You can have small and bigger lines or layers that bring some variations typical for that. We also engrave the vertical gaps, but we try to create our wall in a way that it is strongly built. Just like a brick wall, we jump each time a little gap to create a realistic looking natural stone wall by doing it this way. We try to create smaller and bigger blocks during that process. Variation is important here. In reality, those walls are built up layer by layer. And this is the main reason why we try to keep a horizontal line by each layer. So, the complete wall is finished now. The vertical grids are also finished. Now we use our steel pen again to put some little holes in the stone face. And in this way we try to create a chiseled look of the natural stone itself. Now we can start painting our piece of wall here. To paint the wall, we use again the same paint as we did for our brick wall. A regular white color on a water base is also the paint that we use here. And we use several layers because the foam itself absorbs a lot of paint during that painting process. Once the wall is dried complete, we can go further. So, this wall is paint. Now we got to wait until this paint layer is completely dried up. In next step we use two colors of the brand Vallejo. Snow color number 344 and secondly flash color number 342. And while during the process of bringing on the paint, we try to bring it on in a way that it can mix through each other. So we use both colors with the same brush in one time. And we try to prevent that it starts drying during that process. To work smoothly, we brought already some paint on a small surface to work quickly. In this way we can mix both colors through each other. It is important to bring some variation. During the painting process, we try to use both colors as much as possible. We got to do that job quite quick to prevent drying the paint. As long as the paint feels wet, you can go on. Once the wall is painted with those two colors, we let the paint dry again. In next step, we bring on a layer of water over the complete surface of our stone wall. And we add enough of water because it is necessary to let the paint flow through the gaps of the wall. The paint we use is from the brand Tamiya, number XF51, khaki drop. And therefore we use another brush and use each time again a bit of the paint. And we place some dots on the surface to let the paint flow through the gaps of the stone wall itself. And we try to spread it all over the surface, and as long as the surface is wet, this process will be a success. Try to prevent to work on a surface who is not wet enough. And as you can see, in this way the paint is spreading well and nice over the surface. The wall is now completely finished with those layers. We let the paint dry again. And it looks already more realistic. You can choose for this look. But actually there is another step to go. For next step we need a sink and Tamiya paint number XF55 and also some filler. The ratio filler and paint is comparable with a walnut of filler and a hazelnut of paint. We mix both with a bit of water. We fill up the gaps with this mixture and spread it well over the surface. It's drying pretty fast, so we have to do small parts and not to take a big surface at once. Now we clean off the entire surface with a sponge and lukewarm water. We try to keep the material in the gaps and just clean off the face of the rocks. To better show the stones, we now add a layer of London Grey number 7836 from the brand Vallejo. And the technique that we use for that is the dry brush technique. And in this way we make it more looking realistic. Using a filler to fill up the gaps creates a certain benefit. As you can see, only the surface of the stones are now darker by using a dry brush, And the deeper parts are pillar here, are the parts that we filled up with filler. And in this way we create our natural stone wall here. We bring on a layer of dry brush paint in a way that we build up our color. So in this way we can stop on a certain point when we see, okay, this stone face look gray enough. It's not meant to paint the whole surface with one color. Variation is a key word. Some stones may be a little darker. If you spread color variations over the surface, it brings more a realistic look. And we also try to prevent getting paint into the gaps itself. It's only meant to bring on paint on the surface of the stone. By scratching the joints, we make the joints look pillar. In this way we can accentuate the natural stone wall in a better way. Our natural stone wall is finished. Eventually we can bring on natural umber to imitate wet spots, algae and moss. So in next episode we explain how we create asphalt roads. Until then,